I'm gonna blow this whole sick mess wide open. I'm gonna clear my name.
In today's episode, we're gonna take a retrospective look at the revolutionary film Sin City. We'll talk a bit about the highs, some of the lows, the stacked cast of Hollywood alumni, and, of course, the efforts made behind the camera to create this pop culture cinematic staple. Let's begin.
You're alone. You're all alone.
She was murdered and I was right here when it happened, lying next to her.
Care for a smoke?
It's one thing for you to play hard to get, but don't go trying to cut my nuts off.
Director Robert Rodriguez has had his share of hits and misses over his multi-decade-long career. To think that the director of Shark Boy and Lava Girl is the same visionary filmmaker that brought us the Mexico trilogy and Alita Battle Angel is somewhat of a strange thought. But then again, when you own your own studio as a true independent filmmaker, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
I could pump you full of bullets right now and I wouldn't even be arrested.
Lucky for us, in 2005, Rodriguez and Frank Miller joined forces to adapt Miller's masterpiece graphic novel series Sin City into a theatrical film. Oh yeah, and did I mention that Quentin Tarantino was there too?
No, just that last part you did again, all right?
This is the old days, man, the bad days, the all or nothing days.
Fans of the Sin City books are aware of Miller's unique, semi-monochromatic panels with only a few bold pops of color for certain scenes and images. And much like Zack Snyder's 300, Rodriguez set out to deliver a movie that would be a direct visual translation of the original art. As you can imagine, this was going to be a daunting task that would require mass amounts of creativity, technology, imagination, inspiration, and, of course, money.
I'm even putting up cash of my own to get you more surgery. Fix that heart condition of yours.
Between Dimension Films and Rodriguez's own Troublemaker Studios, the film was able to raise a budget of $40 million US, which is considered cheap for a comic book film, let alone a comic book film with this level of visual intrigue. But of course, the world of Sin City deserved its best shot at being brought to life, so Rodriguez called on Frank Miller from the very beginning to co-direct the project, as well as act as a level of quality control. After all, according to Robert Rodriguez when discussing the making of the movie, it's less of an adaptation and more of a translation. You see, from the beginning, this movie's main goal was to take the darkly noir imagery from the Miller books and put A-list actors in the place of these characters to read the words exactly as they were written. On top of that, to capture the highly unique visual style of the movie, mostly green screens and compositing were used to overlay black and white images and colored images together in the same frame.
And if there weren't so many people here about, I would show you how I'm gonna make dear old Nancy scream.
In fact, many of these scenes were shot and edited as proof of concept before the movie was even in production, which meant that instead of these A-list actors, a lot of times we're looking at stand-ins. But thanks to Miller's comic book panel style, you can't really tell.
Just give me the woman! Shut up.
Sin City is the kind of movie that since its release in 2005 has been imitated but never successfully duplicated. Despite receiving a sequel nearly a decade later, this movie and Rodriguez's intense grindhouse noir style seems to have caught lightning in a bottle when it comes to the utter magic of Sin City.
Here I'd figured you'd forgotten all about me.
Containing an all-star lineup of actors ranging from personal friends and collaborators like Elijah Wood, Josh Hartnett, and Carla Gugino, to other recognizable stars like Mickey Rourke, Bruce Willis, Jessica Alba, and Clive Owens.
I followed them here to make sure we didn't hurt any of the girls.
Not to mention Brittany Murphy, Rosario Dawson, Michael Madsen, Michael Clark Duncan, and the list goes on and on.
None of that stops the bastard from being absolutely right.
The film is an anthology that sort of catalogs the life and times of some of Sin City's underbelly residents. This includes adaptations of The Yellow Bastard, where Bruce Willis plays a nearly retired detective who embarks on an 8-year mission to rescue Nancy, played by Jessica Alba, from the clutches of a serial rapist and murderer.
It's not wise at all to make fun of me like that.
Then there's The Customer Is Always Right, which is really just a quick showcase in essentially 2 scenes of Josh Hartnett just doing his thing, so that's pretty cool.
I'll never know what she was running from. I'll cash her check in the morning.
Then there's my personal favorite, The Hard Goodbye, in which Mickey Rourke plays Marv, a rough street brawler with brain damage who wakes up next to a friendly escort to find that she's been murdered.
No reason at all to play it quiet. No reason to play it any way but my way.
He then scraps and kills his way up the chain of crime until he avenges the murder of his only friend. Tragic ending for this one, but by the way, that's the case for pretty much all of these stories. All except for the final one, the big fat kill.
You're making a big mistake, man. A big mistake.
Yeah?
This one features yet another trip into Sin City to follow a local tough guy who both starts and ends a war between the police,
The cops.
the mob, and a neighborhood full of hookers that, trust me fellas, you do not want to f with.
Hey!
These stories all have the same visual style, as well as the same noir writing style that calls back to 1950s detective stories. Since the movie wouldn't be deviating from the original source material, the actors all had their work cut out for them in terms of learning their lines. But the incredible amount of augmentation done to some of the film's more memorable characters like Marv and of course the yellow bastard himself, Rourke Jr., no relation, Rodriguez and Troublemaker Studios always seem to be on the forefront of technology when it comes to what's possible for filmmaking on a budget. And when it comes to things like makeup and effects, what better way to pinch some pennies than to make it all in-house?
You bought a few extra minutes. There's still a chance, Nancy.
Troublemaker Studios in Austin, Texas is an incredible workshop slash film studio slash film set slash editing bay slash theater slash everything.
This is what we do as filmmakers when we see on set all day. You know, we're talking here, but we see, oh, there's a camera guy there, there's a guy there monitoring sound, and we're here pretending like they're not there.
I've actually toured this place and taken selfies with some of the costumes worn in this movie. Mickey Rourke's facial prosthetics and wig rendered this man nearly unrecognizable if not for that wonderfully gruff voice.
I love hitmen. No matter what you do to them, you don't feel bad.
As far as the impact this movie had on cinema, the box office lit up with excitement and cold hard cash, reaching over $150 million on a budget of just 1/3 of that. Miller and Rodriguez had a certified hit on their hands. And the film would receive praise from general audiences who found the bizarre style of the film to be refreshing from other comic book fare at the time, while also providing a detailed and visually pleasing world to get sucked into for these twisted tales.
He ate their souls. And I joined in.
And then, of course, fans of the books who eagerly awaited the release also seemed to really enjoy it, which helped to propel the film into a highly successful physical release and added to the movie's overall legacy. Shortly preceding this film, we'd see the rise of certain imitators like the dreadful Max Payne starring Mark Wahlberg, and even Frank Miller's The Spirit, which makes similar attempts to capture the style, but without Rodriguez to really bring it all home.
You're giving me a headache, Octopus.
For the most part, this movie holds up well as a slice of movie history that stands out from others of its kind. It sports one of the greatest casts in comic book films, or any film for that matter, and it pays homage to gritty noir thrillers of old while delivering all the blood and guts that you want from a grindhouse outing.
A worthy concern. Neatly elucidated.
And above all, it's an extension of something that was created out of raw passion by one of the greatest minds in comic book history. It was a risk to make this movie, and an even bigger risk to make it in the style that they made it. But if you ask me, this one was special and will always be important. And that's what the f*** happened to Sin City.
Shoot me now, or get the hell out of my way.